Um,
And we go. We're in. We're rolling. This is no BBC. I'm not. I'm. It's not going to be super formal, so we can just jump straight in. I appreciate your time, and
it's great to be here.
I wanna hear a story. I want to hear a story about what you do, why, and then also where you're taking it.
Okay, so I'm a co-founder of the New Zealand Institute of Wellbeing and Resilience, and we train people in well-being. And what we're really interested in is how do you change systems? So we do a lot of work with individuals, but we also do work on how do you make this system better? And the way that I often describe it is, uh, personal resilience is me teaching you how to swim. Collective resilience, which I'm really interested in and hot on at the moment, collective resilience is the state of the pool. It's is the water okay? Are the tiles okay? Are there lifeguards? Are other people kicking you in the face while you're trying to swim? And how do we pay attention to that? Because what we know over the last 3 years is that the people who've coped really well have been in environments that have been supportive. So the organizations that went into COVID caring about their people, having tight communities, having people who feel that other people in the team have got their back, they coped really well. The ones that, when we talk about the great resignation and toxic cultures, that's people, the first chance they can get going, I'm out of here, this stuff is killing me. So last year we trained about 30,000 people around the world. We do a lot of, yay, people have embraced the internet. And so, there's a lot to be done. And when we began our work, I guess I should take you back to, so I started working in management assessment and development a million years ago. And then in 2007, I trained with Marty Seligman at the University of Pennsylvania and in positive psychology and well-being. And then I've just stayed in that field since. I did a PhD looking at how can we use strengths for well-being? How can we use strengths to change the way we're interacting as a group, as a team? And then Lucy and I began working together, and we started our work in education because that was the place that was absolutely interested in whole system well-being, about how we do it together. So that,
Wow.
that's a bit of background.
No, I love it. Chuck me in the deep end. I'm either gonna sink or swim. I'm gonna use your pool analogy.
Okay.
What have you found though?
Um, you know, it's been really interesting. One of the things that's probably obvious to most people now is that in good times, everyone's interested in well-being. In
Mm,
challenging times, everyone wants to talk about resilience. But actually, they're two sides of the same coin. Yeah.
wow.
So we don't talk about wellness because wellness tends to be associated with fruit bowls and flu jabs. Yeah. Whereas well-being is more the psychological as well as the physical. So the kind of agreed and simplest definition of well-being is mainly feeling good and functioning well. Okay. And I like that as a definition because it's saying there are some days when we're not feeling great, but we're actually still able to function. That's well-being. It's not, rowdy, rah, rah all the time. And then resilience is being able to withstand and cope with adversity and challenge and recover over time so that you get back to mainly feeling good and functioning well. And two things that are really important to me about the resilience piece are, first of all, in that definition, it's about being able to withstand something and recover, sometimes over time. It's not about being immune, and it's not about being bulletproof. We're all affected. And the second thing is, and this comes from my friend and colleague Karen Rivich who developed the Penn Resilience Program along with Jane Gillam and Marty Seligman. And Karen says there are no style points for resilience. Yeah. You don't, it's not ta-da, a perfect 10 after the dismount from the beam. No, it's however you do it. If it's crawling over the finish line, that's okay. It's whatever works for you, whatever messy way we manage it. And I think, and along with that, we don't always bounce back. Sometimes we crawl back. And we don't bounce back. We move forward with the learning and the insight into a new space, don't we?
We change, right?
It's not the same. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. One thing that really just stood out to me there is that time it takes to kind of get back to a new version of yourself, right? Through that resilience piece. And that kind of sets up alarm bells in my brain of just like, it's like a hangover, right? And so it's like, how do we get there? And then what would be the biggest barriers that you've seen personally for people to take a little bit longer to get back? If, saying for a devil's advocate's sake, they do get back.
Yeah, but I think the piece that is really important to remember here is that we draw down on our resilience on a rainy day. But when the shit hits the fan at 3 a.m. and I get a dreadful phone call, I don't build my resilience then. I built my resilience on the sunny days. I built my resilience in the tiny things, in developing good habits, in having strong connections, in being able to challenge my own thinking, all of those things. So the bit that people don't get, I think, is that there's so much of our well-being that is protective. And there's so much of our resilience skills that we build every day that you can invest in them in small ways every day. And that's what makes the difference. There's this lovely story or question people ask about, if I said to you, there's 10 million quid outside under a tree. Here's a shovel. Do you want? I genuinely promise it's in a trunk under it. Would you go out and dig it up? Most of us would say yes. If I said to you, yep, it's there. Here's a teaspoon. You can remove 1 teaspoonful a day. Would you dig? We're really enamored of the silver bullet and the quick hit. But the truth about well-being is it's built in teaspoonfuls every day. It's built in the good habits, the good choices, and I think about stuff like building self-compassion. A lot of us, particularly in the sports area, have, we're really good at the old self-flagellation. I come from a Catholic background, so as I'm speaking, I'm mentally, flicking that whip over each shoulder, and that doesn't help. We know that in the long run, if you can actually be a little bit compassionate to yourself, that's associated, when things go wrong and you can go, this is really shit. This is part of life. I'm not alone. It happens to everybody. Now, how can I be kind to myself right now? And what do I need to move forward? People who can do that tend to have, it's so interesting. We think of it as, oh my God, am I just letting myself off the hook? But no, there is 2 decades of research by people like Kristen Neff on this that show that people who can act like this, they're more likely to persevere after a setback. They're more likely to take responsibility for their actions. They're more likely to produce better outcomes. And they stay motivated. And they also tend to have better health and immune functioning.
Wow.
And you go, well, why? And one of the ways that I think about it is, if something goes wrong, and I spend a lot of time sitting in a stew of, oh my God, you're so crap, you're a loser, I can't believe you do this. And when we ask people, what do you say in your head when things go wrong? And we do it on like Mentimeter or something, and you get a screen full of shit, bugger, you useless piece of, and it's really, really like full on horrible. And when you're sitting in that stream of abuse to yourself, what kind of problem solving is happening? Zero. It's just a sea of cortisol and self-loathing, And so I think if we can be a little bit more self-compassionate, then we're able to move more quickly to, okay, I've screwed up. Not my best work. What do I do now? And so you actually spend more time working on your goals than hating yourself, which is a real waste of time. I really have come to view the harsh self-criticism and the beat up and the holding yourself to perfection as a self-indulgence that we can't afford.
Wow. That's
That makes sense?
yeah, that's really profound, and I think self-compassion is one of those really difficult things to be able to start to practice, right? Like once you've kind of got in the habit of things, we're a little bit primal, right? And not the smartest of species. We get into these habits and we start to go forward, right? But to start off, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I got to be compassionate with myself. Well, how and why? And let's just do this,
And it's like, just the research is you're wasting your time. It's a self-indulgence. Move on and be compassionate. Get with the program. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And there's a beautiful question that comes from, it actually comes from cognitive behavioral therapy. And it's a question that my friend and colleague, Lucy Hone, used a lot after her 12-year-old daughter was killed in a car accident. And it's the question, so these are tools that have helped in Lucy's darkest days. They're not just for fair weather sailing, And one of the questions she would ask herself all the time is what I'm doing helping or harming me? And you can add on to that lovely tail onto that, like, is what I'm doing helping or harming me in my quest to get fit, in my quest to have better relationships, in my quest to look after myself? But it's such a powerful question because it builds self-awareness. It builds choice and lets you take action. And what I really love about it is it puts you back in the driver's seat of your life. When we get really exhausted and burnt out, it sometimes feels like we're a million miles away from the center of our life and we can't even see a steering wheel. And recovery from burnout for me is coming back into the picture of your own life and actually leading it. And this question, is what I'm doing helping or harming? This is, when we say, what can you do? These are the kind of questions to practice till they become a mantra. Yeah.
I think that process is so powerful and so healing, and I think that self-awareness piece, I think that's where it all starts, just trying to understand this thing that we are, not just the body, not just the mind, everything in between. We've got to be able to connect these two together, right? And
nothing happens without self-awareness.
There you go. I think it starts. That's where it starts. Like I say it all the time in the gym, right? I like to relate everything back to the gym mainly because I'm a little bit less evolved than most people. I'm blonde and I pick things up and let them fall back to the floor and go, oh yeah, let's go. I'm joking, but it's like you got to get in. You got to earn the right. Point number one, you got to earn that right. It's chess, not checkers. We can't come in and now I can run the sub 2 hour marathon. Like that's not going to happen, mate. Like, you know, you've got to come in every single day and slowly work towards that. And then secondly, I make this point pretty much every week. I could have all the knowledge in the world, but I'm missing one vital piece, that internal feedback. I don't know what it's like being inside your body. So you need to understand who you are
Yeah.
a little bit, and then bridging on that, we need to be better
Yeah.
communicators, right? To be able to liaison with one another, to be able to help each other. You know,
Yeah.
help me, however cliche it may sound.
In the field of in acceptance and commitment therapy developed by Steve Hayes, um, they talk about the noticer pause. Oh my God, that's where the money is. You know, if you can build your noticer pause, you have choice in your life. You know, noticing how you feel, noticing inside, noticing outside, being able to take a noticer pause and then choose what you do. You know, my partner has just said something that's really wound me up. Do I want to say something? Or do I just let it go and know that it won't help? But if I let it go, everything will be fine in 10 seconds. I have a choice.
There's always a choice, right?
Yeah. And like these are the core skills of resilience, you know, self-awareness, self-regulation, which is the noticing and the choosing, and the mental agility piece, which is being able to understand that my thoughts are just thoughts. Just because I think it doesn't mean it's right. I love the Buddhist thing of you're the sky. Your thoughts are just the clouds. They come and go. You don't have to follow them around. And just because you think it doesn't mean it's true. And at the core of resilience then is flexible and accurate thinking. Being able to check your own thinking and go, does that make sense? And again, Karen Rivich, who I mentioned earlier, I remember her being asked, I used to train with her with the Penn team in the UK and Australia. And somebody saying, which is more important, flexible or accurate thinking? And she said, if I had to die in a ditch for one, it would be flexibility, because if you can see more than one possibility or more than one interpretation of what's just happened, you've got choice. You're not stuck. You know?
Yep, 100%. That's exactly what I feel. You know, I like to sit down and write things down, right? And stick a cover over it and send it out there and call it poetry, right? But that's just way of me understanding who I am outside of a aggressive, upfront, you know, kind of masculine, quote unquote, dominated field. Is like, okay, I got to get the other side now. I got to have the yin and the yang, the light and the dark. You know, I have to have this opposite, right, to create a fully balanced human being. So I like to sit down and write these things, eh? And yeah, one of them was like, don't give my words too much meaning. They're just one man's words to help try and understand himself and the world around him that little bit more.
Beautiful. And I love this because poetry gives you a notice or pause. It
Yes.
lets you go in and go, how am I? What is bothering me? What am I thinking? And you know, there's a guy called Pennybacker who's done a lot of research on journaling. And one of the things they found, even if it's not poetry, sitting and writing stuff down in some cases was more effective than therapy, because we don't lie to the page. We don't present our best self to the page, you know. Can I ask you, do you read other poetry?
I never used to. I'm pretty dyslexic,
Yeah.
ironically, and no, reading was never my forte.
A joy.
If
Yeah.
I'm completely honest, like I'd read 4 books by the age of 22.
Yeah.
Like it was a real big struggle. It was one of those where I was kind of like forced through the stages at school rather than actually
Yeah.
progressed through. But I will quite happily pick up poetry now, and give it a good crack and try and get through it. But I like to listen to it. I think because my
Oh
reading is
yeah.
not the, you know, like not the strongest. If I listen to it, it's more powerful because then I can dissect the tone of your voice, and
Yeah.
I can kind of have like a conversation and then attack it from two different angles of one, the words, two, my interpretation of that, but then three, how is somebody portraying their own interpretation of it? And I like to have that little discussion with myself.
There's I was listening, Seamus Heaney, Irish poet, one of my favorites. If you Google Seamus Heaney reading his own poetry, and that's the thing, the internet's fantastic for this. You know, you can find anyone you want to listen to and listen to their poetry being, and poetry should be spoken, shouldn't it?
Yes, it really should.
Yeah.
Although I don't like doing it. I don't like doing mine.
You know, you could do it in the privacy of your own home into a recording.
I could, yeah, and a couple of the episodes on the podcast, like way back when, just sporadically, I might
Yeah.
have written a poem and then wanted to add a bit more of a spin of the way I say it, because my accent's going to be pretty thick and strong. So it's like, okay, this is only really going to hit the note if I kind of verbally say it. But
Yeah.
I like to have a disassociation. I like to put words on a page, and they don't mean anything, or could not mean anything, but they mean a lot of things, and it's you're gonna get the interpretation from it, and then I ask you what you get from it, and most people never find out mine.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
That's the thing. Communication is so rich and there's so much in it.
mhm.
It's
It's everything,
beautiful.
right? It's everything, and I'm so grateful for meeting people from all walks of life, and also for my job of being in the fitness industry. It's just proved to me time and time again at 5 o'clock in the morning, well, that communication is pretty important. I might be a bit pretty potty mouthed northerner and say things a bit brash and harsh, but I can't do that to everybody who walks through the door. I've got to
Yeah, but
carefully
I'll
choose.
say you can do it, and people will get up at 5 in the morning to come and work with you, not because you're a potty mouth northerner, which I don't believe you are, but it's because you have a relationship with them. They know you care. I mean, this is the standout finding in a lot of the well-being work is the enduring importance of connection and relationships. And I always say to people, from the day we're born until the day we die, we need a hand to hold. Yeah.
Oh,
We need connection. And one really important researcher in the kind of field of positive psychology and well-being was asked to sum up, what were the important findings? And he summed up the field in 3 words: other people matter.
wow.
You know, George Valiant, who's done the Harvard Grant Study, which is the longest longitudinal study running, started after World War II, so 1945, still working with these men. And his summary is, no matter what happens you in life, no matter how bad a start you get, neglect, abuse, if by the age of 40 you have learned how to give and receive love, you will age well. That's
Wow.
how important it is. Being able to be in relationship, you know?
Wow.
And when we talk about resilience, we're going and seeing people, we're being asked all the time to go and talk to people who've burnt out and all the rest. And I'm saying, yep, and think about it, folks. Over the last 3 years, when you've hit the wall, it's not what's picked you up, it's who's picked you up.
Mhm.
It's a friend, it's a team member, it's a family member. Yeah. People are what matters. And the organizations we see thriving are the ones where people know they matter and they're made to feel like they matter.
Wow. I'm still blown away by that whole hand to hold quote.
Oh, but we do, we're born, like you said, we're not the smartest mammal. We're born unfinished. The architecture of our brain finishes growing over the first 1,000 days of life. And during that time, the thing that enables that growth to complete is connection. It's seeing each other face to face, it's smiles, all of that learning that happens from attachment. We matter to each other.
Yeah, it's the whole thing of people don't make the world go round, right? But the synergy between them do.
This is collective resilience, you know.
Wow.
If I have a shop I can go into and someone goes, yeah, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while. I might have, there are some days when I do a lot of work on my own, I do a lot of writing. There are some days where the thing that feels most worthwhile or like a gem in my day is a really beautiful chat with a taxi driver. I honestly, I think if I want to write a book called Everything I Know in Life I Learned from Taxi Drivers. You know, like I'm up in Auckland and the taxi driver is telling me my mum is sick in Ireland and I can't get to her. And this man is saying he's brought his family out. They live together. They live, him and his brother, their two families live together. They've got a farm back in India and they alternate who goes and looks after it. And when the guy is back in India, the family is living with the other family and looked after. They get community,
Mm.
you know?
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, thank you, taxi driver, for reminding me of what's important, you know?
It really is. People are important. You know, it's not things, it's not places, and that's something that really stood out to me being in New Zealand, right? Like that is a paradise on earth. That is unbelievable. It is heaven. But I was 12,000 miles away from family and I was on my own, you know, and it's it's going to tarnish everything, you
A
know. And
lonely paradise is not paradise.
no, like, you
Mm.
know, it's solitude, right? And
Yeah.
I get home and I see the smile on my little sister's face for surprising that I came to a footy match and
Oh,
give me dad a hug and start crying, and you know, and it's just like, you know what, this is real special. You know, we don't have to do anything. We're just kind of having a brew at 10 o'clock in the
yeah, yeah,
morning,
yeah.
and that's it.
When my kids were little, at one point I thought I wanted to move. I wanted to move back to Ireland because my thing was, I just want my kids to grow up around people who love them just because of who they are. They don't have to behave well or perform. They're just loved. You're like, come here, I
Yeah.
love you. Um, and yeah, and it matters. And so like I've just moved to Wanaka from Dunedin. And sometimes I think of it's like elastic. And right now the elastic between me and my son has feels like it's just stretched. And it's too, you know, I can go for a while, I can go for a while. Ping. I'm going to Dunedin this weekend to catch up with them because the elastic's been stretched too long.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so special. It's so special. Time with people is all we got, right?
Yeah, yeah. And like I can't be in Ireland. And during lockdown, my mum was sick. And I remember saying I felt really bad that I couldn't be with her. And my brother said to me, Dens, you're as close to her as we are. We're not allowed into the hospital.
Mm.
So we can all only phone her. And I thought, well, you know, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can, the Arthur Ashe quote. And I'm like, right. Um, I phone her every day. We chat.
Wow.
You know, why not?
Why not indeed? Denise, I got
Yeah.
3 questions.
Okay. Fire
What's
ahead.
what's the greatest piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh, one that can I the one that comes to mind, I don't even know if anyone gave it to me, but someone must have. And it is great change is possible at any time.
Wow. That's a new
Mm.
one.
Mm.
I love keeping these questions the same because the comparison in my own head of people from different all walks of life is just it's incredible. Like the answers you get, and
Yeah.
that's a new one.
Like in my darkest days, that's kept me going. Another one, can I give you one, a little
Of
sneaky
course,
thing?
go for it.
My beautiful colleague, Roz Allen, came over to me when I was working at the university in the College of Education. It was Friday, it was 5 o'clock. I was hammering away on the computer. Roz was going home. She leaned over my desk and she said, Denise, no one ever died of an academic emergency. Go home.
Wow.
You know, just keep it in perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it in perspective. That is wow. That's the pub
Don't
time, right? 5 p.m. on a
think,
Friday.
yeah, don't think what you're doing is so important. The rest of your life matters too. Yeah.
Mm. You are not what
Mm.
you do, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Question two, what's the worst piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh God. The one that jumps out is you've made your bed now, you have to lie in it.
Mm.
Change. Why? Why do I have to lie in it? Can I not make a new bed? Yeah. And that's probably competing with things like you've got to know where you're going to be in 5 years' time and
Oh,
climb the ladder. You know, like, no, my life isn't a ladder and it's not a wheel. It's much more unpredictable and interesting than that.
yeah,
Yeah.
these 5 year plans actually do my head in. You know, the amount of questions, amount of times I've been asked that since being back, and they've only been back about 4 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. And it's like, oh, where do you want to be in 5 years? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know where I want to be next week. You know, like,
Some of us are linear, some of us are not. Some of us operate in complex, emergent ways. We know what the next step needs to be, and then it all unfolds. I think of it as some of us live like a string of pearls. You just need to know where the next pearl is.
mhm.
And then when you get there and you're in there, you know what the next step is, and you respond to what's possible.
Yeah, and you go down a different avenue, right? And you change and you adapt and you overcome. And I got to have something to chase, but I don't need to know what it is. You know, and if
Yeah.
I think I know what it is and all the steps, I'll get bored and I'll go into something else. And I won't even have embarked on that journey, right? It's just like, no, I need to have a fist fight with life. Why? Because it's just going to change. And I think that's exciting.
Nice.
Maybe we're just crazy.
Well, it's finding whatever works for you. There isn't a set path, huh?
100%. 100%. What's 3 words you would tell your younger self?
It gets better.
Oof. Mm.
And if I had another one, it would be hold on.
Wow. Beautiful.
A
Denise.
lot of young people really struggle. You know, if you don't grow up as cookie cutter, sausage factory for fine young men, and you don't fit a mold and want to jump into it and stay in it, it can be really hard to find your way in the world and work out who you are and what your place is.
Mhm.
And our work is all about how can we, we talk about our mission is improving population well-being, but that happens one person at a time. And for me, that's about how can we make families, schools, workplaces, communities, places that are easier for more people to belong, find their place, and find their way, you know?
That's exactly it.
Mm.
And I love it. You know, I think that's one of the reasons why I do this, you know, this nomad, outcast, you know, renegade people that are just like, I have no idea what I'm doing or who I am. And because today it's a little different than yesterday. And I kind of adopt the ancient samurai school of thinking of every day with new people, right? You know,
Yeah.
again, something I wrote down is every night I kill myself because every day I wake up a new man. I then have 24 hours to figure out who he is. And
So I have my wedding ring. It's the wedding ring from my 25th wedding anniversary because at one stage we were having such a horrible time. I said, Nige, I think we've killed this relationship. Let's start a new one. So
wow,
we started a new one. And we've done that a couple of times. Let's start again. And so this wedding ring is for the second half.
wow. But that's so
There might even be
beautiful.
a third act.
That's so beautiful though, because most things are designed to break. We get into it, and as soon as it gets hard, we put it in that too hard basket and we give it a little boot to the side of the room and we fuck off out the room. Right. And it's just like, no, guys, like you got to go outside and start digging holes every day. It's that
Yeah.
teaspoon, right? It's friggin' monotonous and it's hard. But that's it. That's life. You know, you got to go
Yeah.
out and just do a bit of work and then you come back in, wash your hands, watch a bit of telly, and guess what? The sun rises tomorrow and you go out and you do it again. Like that's all it is. It's not
I
complicated.
love it.
It's just
I
hard.
love it. Yeah.
Oh, you got me all fired up. But Denise, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure
Right.
to talk to you.
And if I get back to Middle Earth, I'll come visit.
Yes, come and see me.
I will do indeed. We'll grab a coffee, we'll talk some more shit, and put the world to rights.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, and we'll speak soon.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye, everybody.